Hey, hey, welcome back to Horns Up. And this time on Horns Up, we are stripping things down. We're stripping things back, aren't we, Peter?
Yeah, man. It's a pleasant contrast, I would say, compared to most of the acts that we featured so far on the podcast.
Yeah, of course. And that's because we've got Monolord guitarist and singer Thomas Jäger here, who's here to talk about his debut solo album, A Solitary Plan, which is out on May 8th. Yes, the album releases only a month later, but since things worked out and we got a chance to talk to him, we decided to, and you'll hear the results of that in this interview, which will follow shortly. Now, I am a huge Monolord fan, so when this release was announced and when I got to know about it, I was naturally interested. What surprised me is the full-on U-turn as such that this album does, if you link it to Monolord. But it's a U-turn which is done in the same car. Are you getting my
Yeah, yeah,
analogy here
yeah,
of sorts? Yeah,
definitely.
like you can trace the roots back to Thomas and to Monolord on this one. So, which is why, yes, this may not be a metal album outright, but it'll definitely be an album that a lot of metalheads will like.
Yeah, and definitely this album, I completely get the analogy where you're coming from because this would be like a companion or an album that you listen to when you're kind of, or for me personally, this is an album I listen to when I'm kind of want to take a break from listening to, say, like a death metal or something like that. So it really works well in times like that.
Yeah, yeah. And at the same time, I think this album could also be a potential one to bring out at gatherings or at parties whenever we have those next.
True, true.
Where really the only person who will enjoy listening to out and out heavy metal would either be you or me.
True, man.
True. Yeah.
Well,
So here it is. Here's Thomas Yeager. And now on Horns Up, it's Thomas V. Yeager. Hi, Thomas. How are you holding up, man?
I'm fine, thank you. How are you doing?
We are okay. We both
yeah,
are
very
locked down. India at the moment, the whole country is apparently locked down.
Yeah, I heard about it in the news.
What's life like where you are? Where are you at the moment? And what's life like
Uh,
there?
I'm home in Sweden, the west coast. So far, it's basically the major cities that has most like infected of the virus. So I'm still working and at a school, but
cool.
so schools are still open. But if you're feel the slightest sick, you have to be home.
Mm.
Yeah, I can
But
imagine.
but it's all right. It's yeah. I'm grateful that I can work still, so it's all good.
Yeah, it's a very it's a pretty great coincidence that your solo album is called A Solitary Plan then, huh? Because
Yeah,
looking outside my window here in Bombay, India, sometimes it truly seems like it is a post-apocalyptic world.
yeah. I understand that. It
Yeah.
must be completely surreal.
Yeah, of course, but that's a little bit of a joke. But
Yeah.
let's go to the roots of this album. What prompted it in the first place? Why did you feel the need to do this?
Um, some of the songs on the album are a few years old, like recorded just like a demo or similar. And I think the two first songs on the album is the two first I wrote for this thing, and I wrote it without even knowing what to do with it. So I had these the song "A Solitary Plan" and "Creature of the Deep" uh, just lying around for a few years, and then I think it started when I bought a new acoustic guitar. Uh, and it's an old like 70s Ibanez, and it really sounds amazing. So just started playing, and I think I recorded the rest of the album in just a couple of weeks, and finalized it. So as soon as I decided to do an album, it went very fast.
All right. So how long back do these songs stretch? 2 years, 3 years, 4 years?
Somewhere around like 3-4 years. But I have another song that I didn't include on the album because it's a bit, I don't want to say it's happier, but it has more, it's not so depressing. So I saved that for album number 2, and that's like almost 10 years old now. But I usually do that. I record as much as I possibly can, like ideas or riffs or complete songs, and then I can take them out when I have the need for them. So it's like I have my own small library of riffs and songs and stuff that I can choose from, or I can take a verse or a chorus from a song and take it to another song. Or it's endless possibilities because I have all my home studio set up just upstairs, so I can just go up and turn on my computer and start recording. And that is a must for me, that I have everything accessible.
Okay, so considering you've got you've been working on these songs for a long time, how do you then scratch the itch of attaining perfection as such? Because you would, and I'm assuming you would want to just keep revisiting and working on fine tuning, editing, thinking more about each song. Like, what's that process like for you?
You mean the songwriting process?
Yeah, and when do you know that a song is done? Like, when do you take a call that, okay, cool, I'm not going to work on this anymore?
I go mostly on feelings. If I have a feeling that this feels good, but it feels too short, then I try to find something to add to it. So like I've been starting to working on demos for the next album already, and I had 3 songs that were really, really good but too short. So I maybe added a verse or a solo or another chorus, but it's mostly just based on how I feel about it. So I don't have any like formula or so. It's just like it's all based on feelings when I think a song is done or not. But the problem is that some of the songs doesn't really feel done, so someone else has to tell me that it's done now, because I can add synths or percussion or more guitars forever if I could, but as sometimes you have to just to draw the line or say it's done, because some stuff I can work on forever. But that's one of the reasons that I didn't want to mix this myself. So I sent it to a friend of mine, Kalle, who works in a studio in Gothenburg, so he could help me decide a little bit. So that helped me a lot.
What happens when you sent it out to a friend to be mixed, but what happens if he sent you a version that didn't feel right? Hypothetical question, of course.
Yeah, but actually, I have told him that when he mixed the album, if you get some vibe that you want to remove everything except like the acoustic guitar and the vocals, please do, and I will tell you if I like it or not. But we have the same. We look at music the same, me and him, so it was never really a problem. But there were some things he did that because I have in my head I already know how it's gonna sound, and it's really hard to explain that to someone. But he did an amazing job, and the things he sent over, the mixes, it was just small stuff, small fade outs, or turn up the guitar in the left channel or whatever. Nothing really big. So he, I think he nailed it almost from the start. I think he made like 2 different mixes, and after the second one, I thought it was done. So it went very fast.
Right. Yeah, and I think it always helps when you have someone who has a similar viewpoint on music, like you mixing on it. So it's like an
Exactly.
extension in a way.
Yeah.
Moving on, you've said, and I quote this album is me venting all of my emotional energy I've been carrying out. Now I feel more open about it, but at the start I had a hard time talking to friends and family. This record is what came out instead of talking about it. So, if you can, what was this emotional energy as such, if you can tell us?
It's been a lot of stuff. We had some in our family. People were getting sick, and me and my girlfriend tried to. And the normal way to conceive a child didn't work for us. So we were and are struggling with to be not to be fertile, and yeah, it's been a lot of stuff that's just been coming out in the music form, instead of me going to talk to someone. Of course, me and my family, we talked uh, pretty much about it now and all, but it's sometimes it's hard to talk about when you're not really sure yourself what you think about stuff, but maybe it takes a while for everything to be processed, and this recording and this album were a big part in processing all the stuff that were happening from until now and 2 years back in time. um, but it's good to have this out there, that it's like when because when we in Monolord, there are been a bunch of people coming up to us after the shows that were writing us that they can really find comfort in our music, and I hope that this can have some similar vibe to it also. That it's a bit depressing, but I think it's still some comforting elements in it. Um, so yeah, it's a broad subject, but yeah, that's basically most of it.
All right. Uh, so, is it safe for me to say that this album is a product of catharsis for you?
Yeah, I guess you can say that. Because it's been it's not been that I don't want to show this to anyone. I've been really looking forward to when this album is released, and I can hear people's opinion, because when I started out, it wasn't really my intention to I just wanted to release an album, and then I realized that people really like this. So it's been a bigger machine around it than I expected, because I didn't really think that many people would like to hear self-criticism and all. It appears sometimes, but it feels good, and I'm really looking forward to get it out there, and to maybe that's a part of the like healing process or whatever, to hear. It's wonderful to read people's comments and thoughts, and people that draw references to other bands when they hear my music. It's really interesting, because it's hard for me to tell where everything comes from, inspiration, or I think that's the hardest question to ask. Where does your inspiration come from? I really don't have any idea, but it's yeah, it's, as you said, it's been both rough, but it's also pretty sweet feeling now that it's gonna be released.
I absolutely like to. Let's now actually talk about the album and how it sounds. I love how laid back the sound is. It's
Yeah.
such a stark contrast to what you're doing with Monolord, of course, but I still found that this album is rooted in heaviness. So here's a slightly deviant question here.
Mhm.
Uh, why wouldn't these songs work with Monolord soundscape? Can you help us understand that?
I've actually had this question before, and I'm not really sure why. It felt like these songs were, because they, compared to Monolord, these are pretty short songs to begin with, and in Monolord, since everything is pretty slow, it's just a feeling that it's the wrong format for it. So I'm not really 100% sure why it turned out like this, but it's also something that I think I felt I needed to do by myself. Because I'm sure it would have been great Monolord songs out of it, but it was just a feeling that this is something I need to do on my own. Maybe it's because it was too personal or whatever, but sometimes it's good to have, when in a band you can't go into the rehearsal space and say, hey, I made a song, you have to play it exactly like I played it on the demo. It's not like how things work. It's always Espen and Mika has, of course, a big input on all the songs and stuff, but so that maybe that's why I felt I want to do this by myself to get the songs exactly how I want them, and nothing negative against Mika and Espen. It's just something that I felt I needed to do it by myself.
All right. So we've talked so much about a solitary plan. Can we play a song from the album, and which one should we play and why?
I think the title track is a good start. It's because it has mellotron in it, and that's my favorite instrument in the whole world. It's a beautiful song and a good song to start with.
So, Thomas, I predict that this album will be used by many of us as a palate cleanser of sorts, something, soothing after all that heavy all the time.
Yeah.
Uh, is that an okay assessment? And secondly, what are your go-to palate cleansers?
I think if anyone can use this as whatever, I'm just happy if people listen and if people like it. It's they can listen however they like. Myself, I've been lately I've been listening to the more softer, quieter things. I've been listening to maybe. Do you know the record? What's it called by J.J. Cale? Naturally something.
No,
It's
not personally.
it's one of my favorite records. It's really laid back and it's really the production is really laid back too, and it's really amazing. I'm just gonna Google here quick to see what naturally. I think it's just called naturally. And on that record is the song "Call Me the Breeze" that Lynyrd Skynyrd recorded later.
Okay.
And if you listen to it, it's got drums and it's got a lot of like instruments, but everything is so laid back, and it's one of my favorite records. Just to put that on and sit back and take it easy. But then I also listen to First Aid Kit, if you know them.
I've actually heard of them.
Yeah,
Listened to a couple of songs, not an entire album yet.
Yeah, it's two sisters from Sweden. They released a few albums, and it's a lot of Nashville style with vocal harmonies and stuff. And it's also very laid back, and I really like it. So it's laid back 70s rock or something like that.
Right. So you mentioned earlier that you had demos ready for another album of sorts. What are your plans on that front?
I think it's. I don't want to talk about that too much since it's not even in. I have the some demos ready, but it's going to be more of a full band setting kind of thing. So it's going to be a mix. I think it's going to be a mix of a Solitary Plan, but also with a bit more electric sound. Some song there that I have recorded is almost like a Black Crowes tribute thing, not vocal style, but musically, it's I thought of Black Crowes when I recorded it. I don't know if anyone get that reference, but that's the feeling I have. And it has more drums, and it's more a little bit more electric guitar, but it's still based with the acoustic guitar as the main thing, but it's more a band setting thing. So I'll see. I have a bunch of songs ready and see what happens. I'm starting to sort all the things out to see where it leads.
Now, listening to a solitary plan, it easily comes to mind that this sort of material should be an easy gig to set up. Did you have plans for a tour in support of the album?
Well, I've had offers already, but I'm not sure because I don't want to go like completely alone, just because there are a bunch of stuff in the songs that I think will lose some of its. I think I need at least one more person with me that can do like maybe some synth stuff or some extra guitar stuff or whatever to keep it a bit more interesting. So I'm not sure yet. We'll see when the album is out, and maybe it's something I can. I've been thinking about it, maybe doing some small shows like in between Monolord tours or whatever. But I'm not sure yet. We'll see. But as you said, it could be a pretty easy setup still, even though it's just maybe 2 people or even 3 people would be an really easy setup for this thing.
Alrighty. What do you make of the musicians and content creators that are using this time to just connect to their fans and play virtual concerts via social media, etc.? Would you like to indulge in any such thing? And do you see such activities becoming mainstays in the future post-COVID world, hopefully?
Well, yeah, it's really weird these days because everything that's happening, and I think everyone is just making the best of it. And I'm really glad that we decided to not have any longer tours this spring. It was not because of the virus, because when we decided this, it was last year in November or December that we were, or earlier still. I can't remember, but we decided that we won't do anything this spring because just we've been touring so much lately. But there you have friends in bands that they have ordered merch for tens of thousands of euros, and that the tour got cancelled, so now they're stuck with all the merch, and so that sucks tremendously. So I like for the band Cadaver that we toured with last year, or was it 2 years ago? I can't remember. Anyways, they were going on a tour now, and I know they're sitting on a pile of merch. And if people can't go to concerts and buy merch, you can just buy it online or support your band the way you feel suits you best. And the live shows online, or I think it's if you have the possibility as a band to do that, you should do it. We did that a couple of years ago. Some live show. I think maybe it was on Orange Amplifier's Instagram or Facebook page. I can't remember. But we just used the guitar rig thing that you can connect to your cell phone.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we used that and connected that to the computer we had at a rehearsal space, so we could set some levels and stuff, and then we so you can do it with pretty cheap setup if you want to transmit live. But we have been talking about doing that too in Monolord, so we'll I'm not sure how and when, but we have been talking about doing it just so people can enjoy us anyway, because we're not going to tour until the fall possibly, but still you don't know what happens in the fall. Maybe the rest of the world is closed in October too. We will see.
You see so much talk about, working from home and using this time to be productive. Does that kind of mentality resonate with you?
Yeah, it's I'm like 3 years ago I quit my job. I was employed full time at the same school that I'm working at now, but I just work by the hour. Uh, but I'm more and more leaning towards that. I don't, at least right now, I don't want to have a full time job, because if there's something that kills creativity, it's working. When I work, if I would work full time, I would go up at 5:30 every morning, and I would come home around 4 or 5 or later, and then you're dead tired, and then you have to have some energy left to record demos or songs or whatever, and it's never worked for me to combine those things. So now I'm decided to work 3 days a week, or 3, sometimes 4, but it's an average of 3 days a week, and I have the rest of the week to like focus on songwriting, and that works really well for me, because I'm more and more. It's, of course, you need money to pay your bills and to buy food and everything, but I would rather have some free time than a lot of money.
Yeah, being the
Okay.
master of your own time is probably the best luxury in the world.
Exactly. And now I'm more and more feeling that I want to spend more time because we live me and my girlfriend and our dogs and cats, we live out in the woods. We can go like just behind our house or wherever. We can just go out in the woods and bring coffee and sandwiches and spend our time with dogs in the woods, and it's amazing.
That certainly does sound amazing. All right, Thomas, here's the final question.
Mhm.
Given the state of the world that we are in currently, with what's happening around us, how do you think this time will affect the world? What's your hope as such for the world?
I hope that people will get more aware of, for example, all the major viruses lately are created by men, because, like, do you remember the mad cow disease a couple of years ago?
Yeah.
Yeah, that happened because all the companies that made the food for cows, they changed the process, so they didn't heat up everything as they should, so it would go faster, so it would be cheaper. But that meant that cows got some proteins from, because they make animals eat other dead animals to have in their food, and then when they don't heat it enough, you get like proteins that will damage stuff in your brain. So that's why they got mad, and that's why people got sick and died. So I hope that everyone could get more aware of how are these viruses often created. It's because I'm a vegan, and I'm really hoping that people will be aware of how we treat animals. And you can see now when there's I can't remember on which site, but it's like I can't remember, but anyway, you can see charts of how the environment are slowly getting better with just when there's been a few or some weeks with no less airplanes, less traffic, and you can already see that the planet is improving on a lot of areas. So I hope this would be like I hope it would be like that people start to think, what are we actually doing here? But I doubt it, because most of the time people are so egoistic. It's like I saw some clip from Stockholm yesterday where they are so not aware that this virus can actually kill them. We're just going up skiing now. Yeah, but isn't it dangerous because all the virus? Nah, it's not that bad. And then they go skiing, and then they get sick, and then they get home, and then they infect all their family and friends, and then it's so stupid because everyone's living in their small bubble, and they don't want to. It's like they don't even want to know what's going on around them in the rest of the world, and you know that church that burned down in France some year ago.
Yeah, the Notre Dame.
Yeah, and like 24 hours later, people have donated like $10 million for the restoration, and still there are so much poverty, and children like in Africa are dying, like two kids every minute, and it's like it's so disturbing that people are so egoistic. So I hope some will learn something from this, but I don't have my hopes up that too high. But I hope that at least some people will think a bit more.
Yeah. At the end of the day, all we can do is really hope and then work towards changing things for the better. Thomas, it's been an absolute pleasure talking with you. Hopefully, hopefully we get to see you either in Sweden, or if there's any chance of you coming over to India. I'm sure you'll enjoy it because India just happens to be the capital for all vegan friendly food.
I know. It's I really want to go to India. It's I've been reading a lot about India and some of like old culture and stuff. It seems amazing. So I really want to go sometime.
Alrighty, thank you so much for your time.
Yeah, thank you. And I just need to say, since we we did a lot of interviews for No Comfort last year before the release, and so it's been a lot of Skype interviews lately, and this has been one of the better ones. So I just want to say thank you.
Oh, thank you so much. Really appreciate that.
Yeah.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Yay, he gave us props, Peter. He gave us props.
Yeah, that
best interview.
was really, really cool to hear, man.
Yeah, there are times when, sudden, not appreciation, but encouragement and appreciation is always appreciated. Makes us want to do a better job.
Just keeps us motivated to keep doing what we're doing.
I guess so. I guess so. Yeah, at times like these, that's really one of the things we all can strive for as such. How to keep yourself motivated to keep doing the things that you really like doing.
True. I agree.
All right, so that concludes another episode of Horns Up. We'll be back next week. We've got a couple of heavy hitters. Yeah, we are kind of tuned into the entire Testament media blitzkrieg as such that's happening right now because of the new album. So watch out, or actually listen out for that. But yeah, other than that, I think another episode of In Metal We Trust is also on its way soon. Peter, your inbox is certainly flooding as such, right?
It's been really cool to still hear out from bands and hear bands appreciative of what we've been doing with the In Metal We Trust. So stay tuned for at least another hour of metal coming up on that front.
Ooh, that sounds promising. So yeah, while we figure out what to do with that, if you guys want to talk about metal, the offer is still open. Reach out to us, honsubpod.com. We'd love to hear from you. Until next time, I'm at Asmoani on Twitter. Peter, you can be followed at
Trend Crusher,
Horns Up.
Horns Up.